Hello, friends. This is in response to somebody's questions about immersion versus getting lost in the world. I talk about this a lot in Becoming Dungeon Master, this idea of being immersed in whatever situation you're in. However, that can seem very much the same thing as getting lost in an experience. We will hear people talking about getting in the zone. How does that compare? What are we talking about here? In this video, I'm going to try to make it clear. Okay, one of the most basic concepts presented in the book is this idea of being immersed in your gameplay experience rather than being distracted. But in our language, we don't have really good words for this. And there's a lot of things, like a movie, for instance, that we sit down to it and we can feel like we are immersed in the movie. But that is really the same thing as getting lost in the movie, forgetting who we are and getting swept away so that all of our mental energy is taken up by the movie experience. How is that different than if I want to sit down and cook and be immersed in that cooking experience? Or I want to speak with someone and be immersed with that experience of speaking with them. In all of these cases, we're using the same words, being immersed in the experience. But we're talking about something that feels tangibly different. Take that movie again. I sit down, I start to watch it, and I'm swept into that world. Everything else that is still in my sensory awareness is essentially turned off. So for most of us, when we're watching a movie, someone can come into our peripheral vision, we don't notice them. Someone can be cooking something in the kitchen and we won't really take notice of the scents or the sounds coming from the kitchen. In some cases, something a little extreme could happen. Someone could get injured, or a child could start crying, and we might not even hear it because we are so lost in that movie. On the other hand, we're cooking, and we are deeply immersed in that experience. That can be an experience where we are immersed in what's happening, and yet we are aware of our other sensory input. So I can be cooking, but I'm still aware of what's in my peripheral vision. I may be even using my peripheral vision, my sense of smell, my hearing in that cooking process. So there is an engagement of the senses that's not happening with the movie. There's a tangibly different feeling, a hypnosis, if you will, rather than a feeling of awareness. Now, it's important to recognize that it is not the experience we're having that dictates whether we're immersed or not. So it's not that a movie is automatically not immersed and cooking is automatically immersed. Instead, it's the quality of mind that we bring to the experience. My daughter was hoping I would use the example of reading a book. I can read a book and I can be completely lost in that book. Someone can call out my name and nobody home essentially. All my other senses are turned off. Now I'm also capable of reading a book and being aware of my surroundings. And that is immersion. Now, some would argue that if I read the book, but I'm also trying to be aware of my total surroundings, I am not going to enjoy that book. The beauty of the book is in getting lost in it. And that's actually a powerful parallel with the game as a whole, with life as a whole. The idea here is that we get lost in the experience. But then there comes this discovery that I can fully experience a book, a movie, life, but be aware at the same time. This quality of being immersed, again, it tangibly feels different. And that's one of the biggest things that we're looking for in Satori gameplay, is to feel that sense of immersion and to be able to experience it on a regular basis. As we do that, the entire game feels different. There is a beauty and an immersion, a lusciousness in every single moment that isn't there when my mind gets hypnotized and lost in something. We'll discover that the enjoyment of the movie, the enjoyment of the book, is actually more when we're immersed in it rather than lost in it. And of course, we discover the same thing with life in general. When I am lost in it, it seems like I'm really into it. And in a way I am, but mostly my mind is turned off. When I'm immersed, I am in that experience in much the same way that I was when I'm lost in it, except that my mind is on and aware at the same time. That's the big trick in immersion, is taking our awareness and our consciousness into whatever task we're performing, whatever experience we're having. When we do that, we discover for ourselves what immersion means. Share your thoughts, my fellow Satorians. I'll talk with you in the comments.